Back in the 1950s, when life moved a little slower and every meal was made with love, home baking became a way to bring comfort, joy, and creativity to the table. Today, I'm taking you on a delicious journey through time, honoring the cakes that filled Grandma's kitchen, each one a testament to simplicity, tradition, and a sprinkle of sweetness that only the 1950s could offer. Pineapple upside-down cake. If you've ever set eyes on a pineapple upside-down cake, you've witnessed one of the true wonders of mid-century baking.
That is a pineapple upside down cake, then today's video's for you.
This cake has been a staple of American kitchens since the 1920s, but it truly hit its stride in the 1950s when it became the crown jewel of family gatherings, potlucks, and church socials. Imagine walking into a room where a warm, golden cake, glossy with caramelized pineapple and maraschino cherries, takes center stage on the dessert table. It was simple, but it felt like luxury. Something about the shiny fruit topping, the moist texture of the cake beneath, and the perfect balance of sweet and savory made it irresistible. The appeal of pineapple upside-down cake lies not just in its deliciousness, but in the convenience of canned pineapple, a key ingredient that became widely available during the 1950s. This cake made it possible for every home baker to experience a taste of tropical paradise without having to trek to the Caribbean. The concept itself was revolutionary at the time, popping the pineapples on top of the cake batter before baking, creating a beautiful, almost magical transformation once the cake was flipped over. It was a dessert that felt like a celebration, whether it was served on a quiet Sunday afternoon or at a big family gathering. To begin, you'll need a can of pineapple rings and the iconic maraschino cherries, those little red jewels that, whether we admit it or not, stole the show. Start by greasing your cake pan and then laying the pineapple rings in a spiral pattern, placing a cherry in the center of each ring. As the cake bakes, the pineapple softens and the sugary syrup seeps into the batter, creating a caramelized top that's both sticky and heavenly. The cake batter itself is a classic butter-based cake, light and fluffy with a perfect crumb. You'll mix together sugar, butter, eggs, and a bit of vanilla for flavor. Then add in your dry ingredients: flour, baking powder, and a pinch of salt. Once the batter is smooth, pour it gently over the pineapple rings, ensuring it spreads evenly. As the cake bakes, the top of the cake becomes a golden brown with the caramelized pineapple forming a glorious crown. After about 30 minutes in the oven, it's time for the grand reveal. When you flip the cake over, the pineapple rings will have transformed into a glossy, sun-kissed topping, and the cake itself will be soft, moist, and absolutely divine. Cutting into this cake is a moment of pure joy. The bright, vibrant pineapple slices shine through, while the dense, buttery cake beneath provides the perfect contrast. It's a slice of nostalgia, both simple and sophisticated, and a dessert that has remained beloved for generations. In the 1950s, pineapple upside-down cake was more than just a dessert. It was a symbol of resourcefulness, of making the most of what you had to create something extraordinary. And even today, it continues to remind us of the beauty of simple ingredients transformed into something truly special. Chiffon cake. There's something undeniably magical about a chiffon cake. Its delicate, airy texture makes it seem almost weightless, like a cloud you could float away on. Introduced to the public in the 1940s, this cake quickly became a star of the 1950s dessert scene. Unlike the heavier, more traditional butter cakes that dominated the era, chiffon cake brought a lightness and sophistication that seemed perfect for post-war celebrations.
An old-fashioned chiffon cake. So let's get started. To make this,
it's the kind of cake that whispers elegance, making it the perfect centerpiece for both casual gatherings and more formal events. What truly made it stand out was its ethereal texture, which came from the ingenious use of vegetable oil in the batter, a game changer in cake making at the time. The rise of chiffon cake can be attributed to the creativity of an American baker named Harry Baker, who spent years perfecting his recipe before releasing it to the public. This cake became a sensation, offering a lighter alternative to the standard sponges and pound cakes. The key to its fluffy texture lies in the combination of vegetable oil, beaten egg whites, and a careful folding technique. Unlike butter-based cakes, which can be dense and heavy, chiffon cake uses oil to provide moisture and lightness, while the whipped egg whites ensure a soft, almost sponge-like crumb. The result is a cake so light, it almost feels like it's floating. To make chiffon cake, you'll begin by separating the eggs. The egg yolks get mixed with sugar, oil, and flavorings like vanilla or citrus zest. The oil, which was a new concept for cake batter at the time, helps the cake stay moist without weighing it down. After whisking these ingredients together, flour, baking powder, and a pinch of salt are folded in, creating a smooth, velvety batter. The magic happens when you carefully fold in the beaten egg whites, which are whipped to soft peaks. The process requires a gentle touch, but when done right, it gives the cake its signature airy texture. Baking a chiffon cake requires a tube pan. Its open center allows the cake to rise evenly and cool without collapsing. The batter is poured into the pan and baked until golden brown. Once out of the oven, the cake is flipped upside down to cool, ensuring it retains its height and lightness. The result is a cake that's soft, moist, and incredibly tender. Just the kind of cake that makes people stop and say, "How did they make it so light?" What's truly special about chiffon cake is its versatility. It can be served plain, dusted with powdered sugar, or topped with a simple glaze. In the 1950s, frosting wasn't always necessary for this delicate beauty. Instead, it was often paired with a light fruit compote or served with whipped cream. The cake's subtle flavor complements a wide range of toppings, making it a blank canvas for all kinds of creativity. Whether it's a lemon glaze, a chocolate drizzle, or fresh berries, chiffon cake elevates any dessert table with its graceful presence. Even decades later, it remains a favorite, a testament to the timeless appeal of its airy, light-as-air texture and the clever innovation that made it possible. Jello poke cake. There's a certain charm to the Jello poke cake, a dessert that has all the hallmarks of 1950s innovation. In a decade where convenience foods reigned supreme,
Back to the 80s with a Jello poke cake.
the Jello poke cake stood out as a simple yet delightful creation that became a beloved staple in many households. This cake was a product of the post-war era, a time when convenience and creativity combined to create new, fun dishes. With its vibrant, colorful layers and jiggly, fun texture, the Jello poke cake quickly became a favorite at potlucks, family gatherings, and church socials. It's a cake that's as much about the experience of making it as it is about enjoying it. The poke technique, where you poke holes into the cake and fill them with Jello, was a playful, hands-on approach to cake making that captured the spirit of the times. The origins of the Jello poke cake are a bit fuzzy, but it likely emerged as a way to repurpose simple, store-bought cake mixes into something extraordinary. The Jello itself was the star of the show. In the 1950s, Jello wasn't just a snack. It was a versatile ingredient that could add a pop of color and flavor to all kinds of dishes. The idea behind the poke cake was brilliantly simple. Bake a basic cake, poke holes in it, and pour brightly colored flavored Jello into the holes. As the Jello sets, it infuses the cake, making it moist, flavorful, and wonderfully colorful. It was a creative use of a pantry staple, and a dessert that was both fun to look at and even more fun to eat. To make the Jello poke cake, you begin with a boxed cake mix, another 1950s convenience innovation. Or, if you prefer, you can make the cake from scratch. A yellow cake base works best, providing a light, neutral flavor that lets the Jello shine. Once the cake has cooled for a few minutes, the real fun begins. You take a fork or a skewer and poke holes all over the surface of the cake. The holes should be deep enough to allow the Jello to seep in, but not so deep that they cause the cake to fall apart. The Jello mixture, typically a bright flavor like strawberry, lime, or orange, is prepared by dissolving the gelatin in hot water and then mixing in cold water to help it set. After that, you pour the liquid Jello over the cake, ensuring it soaks into every hole. As the cake sits, the Jello seeps into the cake's crumb, creating pockets of vibrant color and flavor throughout. The result is a moist, slightly wobbly cake that's fun to slice and even more fun to eat. The texture is light and airy with a slightly jiggly, almost gel-like quality where the Jello has soaked in. To finish, the cake is often topped with a dollop of whipped cream or a simple glaze, although some recipes call for a layer of Cool Whip, which was a common ingredient in 1950s desserts. The beauty of the Jello poke cake is its versatility. You can mix and match different flavors of Jello to create different effects or color combinations. For example, a red Jello paired with a lemony cake mix creates a refreshing, tangy combination, while lime Jello with coconut cake brings a tropical flair to the table. The cake is perfect for a summer picnic or a fun birthday party, and its vibrant colors always bring a touch of whimsy to the dessert table. Even though Jello has evolved in popularity over the years, the poke cake remains a nostalgic reminder of a time when creativity in the kitchen didn't require expensive ingredients or elaborate techniques. Just a bit of Jello, a box of cake mix, and a whole lot of fun. It's a cake that doesn't take itself too seriously, but still manages to leave a lasting impression. CocaCola Cake. Few cakes are as deeply tied to American culture as the Coca-Cola Cake, a true Southern classic that rose to fame in the 1950s. This cake is a celebration of comfort, simplicity, and resourcefulness, traits that defined so much of post-war baking. The idea of using Coca-Cola in a cake may seem unusual at first, but it was a stroke of genius. The soda adds an extra level of moisture, along with a subtle richness that makes the cake incredibly tender and soft.
Chocolate fudge, Coca-Cola cake. Now let's get started.
The combination of the slightly caramelized flavor from the soda and the richness of cocoa powder creates a cake that's not only moist, but deeply flavorful, with just the right balance of sweetness. The Coca-Cola cake quickly became a beloved dessert across the South and beyond, with its flavor and texture leaving an indelible mark on American baking. The story behind the Coca-Cola cake starts in the South, where folks were always looking for creative ways to incorporate the popular soft drink into all kinds of recipes. By the 1950s, Coca-Cola was ubiquitous, sold in every corner store, and always a part of family meals and gatherings. Using it in a cake was the perfect way to take advantage of the sweetness and carbonation of the soda while creating a dessert that was rich and comforting. The cake itself is a straightforward, one-bowl creation. What makes it unique is the addition of Coca-Cola to the batter, which helps the cake achieve that signature moist texture. To make Coca-Cola cake, you start by combining flour, sugar, cocoa powder, and baking soda in a large bowl. Then, you pour in the star ingredient, the Coca-Cola, and mix it with softened butter. The soda adds sweetness, but also brings a slight depth of flavor thanks to its caramel-like undertones. A bit of buttermilk adds tang and helps balance the sweetness. Eggs and vanilla round out the flavor, giving the cake richness and warmth. The batter is mixed until smooth, and then it's poured into a prepared baking pan and baked until a toothpick comes out clean. Once the cake is baked and cooled, the frosting comes into play. This frosting, also made with Coca-Cola, adds a deliciously gooey, almost fudge-like layer to the cake. The frosting is cooked on the stovetop, where you combine butter, cocoa powder, and the soda itself, creating a thick, glossy glaze. After it's boiled for a few minutes, you pour it over the warm cake, where it soaks in and hardens slightly, giving the cake a rich, decadent top. The cake is then left to cool, and when sliced, it reveals a perfectly moist crumb, with the dark, chocolatey layers complemented by the sweet, slightly tangy frosting. What makes Coca-Cola cake so special is its rich, comforting flavor, which combines chocolate, caramel, and a subtle tang from the soda itself. The texture is incredibly moist, thanks to the soda, and the frosting adds a layer of indulgence that makes each bite a little bit of heaven. This cake was born out of the 1950s obsession with convenience and practicality, using a common pantry ingredient in an unexpected way, and it has remained a favorite ever since. Whether served at a family gathering or a church picnic, Coca-Cola cake is a dessert that brings people together, evoking a sense of nostalgia and Southern charm with every bite. It's a timeless reminder that sometimes the simplest ingredients can make the most unforgettable treats. Pineapple cake with cream cheese frosting. Pineapple cake with cream cheese frosting is the kind of dessert that instantly transports you to a sun-drenched kitchen, where the scent of sweet pineapple mingles with the warm, comforting aroma of a freshly baked cake.
It's just a regular old pineapple cake with cream cheese frosting.
This cake became a 1950s favorite for its delicious contrast of flavors. The bright, tangy sweetness of pineapple paired with the rich, creamy goodness of cream cheese frosting. It was the sort of cake that could turn an ordinary afternoon into something special. With its smooth, sweet frosting and a moist, fruity crumb, it was a go-to dessert for everything from family gatherings to celebrations, and it perfectly embodies the era's love for combining fresh ingredients with store-bought convenience. The pineapple, which was once considered an exotic luxury, became more accessible in the 1950s thanks to the rise of canned goods. This change brought pineapple into everyday baking, and its natural sweetness made it the ideal companion to cakes. Pineapple cake became a crowd pleaser, especially with the addition of cream cheese frosting. In fact, the combination of fruit and rich frosting became such a popular trend in the 1950s that it soon found its way into the hearts and cookbooks of many families across the country. The addition of cream cheese frosting took the cake from something simple and pleasant to an indulgent treat that felt like a decadent, tropical getaway. To start making this cake, you'll need a can of crushed pineapple, which will provide both moisture and sweetness to the cake. You combine the pineapple with sugar, eggs, and flour, creating a batter that's light but full of flavor. Adding a bit of baking soda helps the cake rise and gives it a soft, tender texture. The batter is mixed gently to preserve the lightness and then poured into a greased cake pan. It's baked until golden brown, with the edges slightly crisping and the cake rising to a perfect, airy height. While the cake is baking, you can prepare the frosting. The cream cheese frosting is a blend of cream cheese, butter, powdered sugar, and a dash of vanilla, creating a thick, tangy, sweet layer that contrasts beautifully with the light, fruity cake. It's not overly sweet, but rich enough to elevate the cake to something truly special. Once the cake has cooled, The frosting is spread generously over the top, creating a smooth, glossy finish. For an added touch, some recipes suggest topping the cake with a sprinkling of chopped walnuts or toasted coconut, which adds a bit of crunch and extra flavor. The true beauty of pineapple cake with cream cheese frosting lies in its balance. The cake itself is wonderfully moist from the pineapple, and the frosting, while rich, never overwhelms the lightness of the cake. Each bite is a harmonious combination of sweet, tangy, and creamy, with just the right amount of texture from the soft cake and the smooth frosting. The cake also keeps well, making it a perfect option for leftovers, and the flavors only deepen as it sits. This cake is both nostalgic and versatile, ideal for a summer afternoon or a festive holiday table. Its tropical flavor profile brings the sunshine right to your kitchen, while the rich, comforting frosting wraps everything up in a beautiful bow. Pineapple cake with cream cheese. Frosting is a true 1950s classic, showcasing the era's inventive use of ingredients and a love for cakes that were as pretty as they were delicious. And, much like the era itself, it's a slice of sweetness, simplicity, and pure joy. Coconut cake. Coconut cake is one of those desserts that immediately evokes nostalgia, filling the air with the sweet, tropical aroma of coconut, sugar, and butter. In the 1950s, coconut became a star ingredient in cakes, adding a touch of elegance and an exotic flair to the American dessert table.
Delicious coconut cake with flavorful coconut cream.
This cake, with its snowy white layers and golden toasted coconut coating, became a symbol of post-war sophistication and domestic creativity. It was often the centerpiece of special occasions, from birthdays to holidays, and even church socials. Coconut, which was once considered an exotic luxury, became more accessible during the mid-20th century, and bakers quickly embraced it, not only for its flavor but for its texture and visual appeal. The coconut cake's light, fluffy crumb is perfectly complemented by a rich, buttery frosting that's spread generously between layers and on top. The cake itself is typically made with a basic butter cake batter, fluffy, moist, and subtly sweet. But the addition of shredded coconut in the batter takes it to another level. It imparts a slightly chewy texture and an unmistakable flavor that marries beautifully with the frosting. The frosting, often a classic buttercream or cream cheese frosting, is where the magic happens, creating a rich and decadent layer that balances the lightness of the cake and the chewiness of the coconut. But the true crowning touch is the toasted coconut that coats the exterior, offering a crunchy contrast to the soft, airy interior. To make coconut cake, you'll begin by preparing your cake batter. Cream together butter and sugar, and then add eggs and vanilla. After that, you gently fold in the dry ingredients: flour, baking powder, and salt. Once the dry ingredients are incorporated, add a generous amount of shredded coconut to the batter. The coconut helps the cake stay moist while also adding that signature tropical flavor. Once the batter is ready, it's poured into cake pans and baked until golden brown. While the cake cools, it's time to make the frosting. The frosting for coconut cake is often a simple buttercream, which starts with creaming butter and powdered sugar, adding in a little milk to achieve a spreadable consistency. For a richer variation, some recipes call for a cream cheese frosting, which offers a tangy balance to the sweetness of the cake. Once the frosting is ready, it's time to assemble. Spread a layer of frosting between the cake layers, then generously cover the top and sides of the cake. The final step is to press toasted coconut into the frosting, creating a beautifully textured, golden exterior. The toasted coconut adds a nutty, slightly smoky flavor that elevates the sweetness of the cake, making each bite a delightful balance of flavors and textures. Coconut cake has a way of bringing people together. It's both a visual and a culinary treat. The snowy white layers, the rich frosting, and the golden coconut on top create a showstopper of a dessert that's perfect for any occasion. This cake was often made for holiday gatherings, special celebrations, and, of course, as a sweet treat to share with family and friends. Its light yet indulgent nature makes it a perfect choice for those moments when you want something that feels both comforting and elegant. Even decades after its peak popularity, coconut cake still carries the essence of the 1950s, the love for rich, comforting desserts that still had a touch of sophistication. It's a cake that represents the charm of a time when baking was an art and every cake was a chance to impress. Today, coconut cake remains a beloved classic, offering a perfect blend of sweetness, texture, and nostalgia. It's the kind of cake that, with each slice, tells a story of past generations, a time of celebration, and, of course, a whole lot of coconut. Red velvet cake. Red velvet cake is one of those iconic desserts that never quite loses its allure. and its rise to fame in the 1950s marked a time of both innovation and indulgence in the American kitchen. With its striking red color, velvety texture, and smooth cream cheese frosting, it's easy to see why this cake became such a beloved classic. The 1950s were an era where bakers began to experiment with bold flavors and dramatic presentations, and red velvet cake fit perfectly into this era of culinary creativity. The cake's vivid color was an instant showstopper, while its slightly tangy cocoa-infused flavor paired beautifully with the creamy, sweet frosting. It became a staple at celebrations, from birthdays to weddings, and remains a popular choice for special occasions even today. Though the origins of red velvet cake can be traced back much earlier, the 1950s were when it truly gained mainstream popularity. Its dramatic color, which was achieved using food coloring, was a statement in itself. At the time, red food coloring was still a novelty in baking, and it added a sense of excitement and flair to the otherwise traditional cake. The cake's name was a nod to its velvety texture, which was the result of a perfect balance between buttermilk, vinegar, and cocoa powder. The combination of these ingredients created a soft, tender crumb that practically melts in your mouth. The cake was a bit of a mystery to many home bakers at first. What exactly gave it that signature color and smoothness? It didn't take long for the world to fall in love with both the taste and the visual impact of the cake. To make red velvet cake, you'll start by creaming together butter and sugar, creating a light and airy base. Then add eggs and vanilla extract, mixing until smooth. The key to the cake's texture lies in the combination of buttermilk and vinegar, which activate the baking soda and create the cake's tender crumb. A little cocoa powder is added to provide a subtle chocolate flavor without overpowering the other ingredients. The food coloring is the finishing touch, giving the cake its signature vibrant red hue. The batter is mixed gently to maintain its lightness, and then it's poured into cake pans and baked until a toothpick comes out clean. Once the cakes are cooled, it's time for the frosting. The classic choice is cream cheese frosting, rich, tangy, and just sweet enough to balance the slight bitterness of the cake. Some recipes call for a buttercream frosting, but cream cheese frosting is by far the most popular, offering a smooth, rich topping that complements the lightness of the cake. The frosting is spread generously between the layers and then over the top and sides, creating a luscious contrast against the vibrant red cake. For an added touch, some bakers like to sprinkle cake crumbs or red velvet shavings on top, adding texture and a finishing flourish. The beauty of red velvet cake lies in its balance. The cake itself is moist and slightly tangy, with just a hint of cocoa, while the cream cheese frosting is rich and indulgent. It's a dessert that commands attention, not just for its striking color, but for its smooth, velvety texture and the perfect harmony of flavors. In the 1950s, it was often reserved for the most special of occasions, but today it remains a timeless treat that's perfect for any celebration, big or small. Red velvet cake has a place in the hearts of many, both for its taste and for the nostalgia it carries. Whether served at a birthday party, a wedding, or a simple afternoon gathering, this cake remains a favorite that brings a touch of glamour and sweetness to any table. Its striking appearance and unique flavor make it a standout dessert, and like all good recipes from the 1950s, it's a cake that tells a story of time, tradition, and the joy of baking something special. Chocolate mayonnaise cake? At first glance, chocolate mayonnaise cake may seem like an odd combination, chocolate and mayonnaise, but this quirky dessert became a beloved classic during the 1950s, and for good reason. Mayonnaise, which is made from eggs, oil, and vinegar, was a perfect substitute for butter and eggs during a time when ingredients like these were sometimes scarce or expensive. This cake, with its rich, moist crumb and deep chocolate flavor, became a staple during the era, combining practicality with indulgence. In fact, it was often used as a way to make a delicious cake with minimal ingredients, which was an invaluable trick in the post-war kitchen, where families sought to stretch their budgets. The history of chocolate mayonnaise cake is a testament to the resourcefulness of home bakers in the 1950s. With the rise of packaged convenience foods, including mayonnaise, homemakers found new ways to use familiar ingredients in inventive ways. Mayonnaise added both moisture and richness to cakes, and as an ingredient, it made the cake incredibly tender. The oil in mayonnaise gives the cake a smooth, soft texture, while the vinegar, which activates the baking soda, helps the cake rise. The chocolate flavor is bold, with cocoa powder providing a deep richness that balances the subtle tang of the mayonnaise. Making chocolate mayonnaise cake is a straightforward process, which is part of its charm. You start by combining the dry ingredients, flour, cocoa powder, baking soda, and a pinch of salt. In a separate bowl, mix together the mayonnaise, sugar, and vanilla extract, creating a smooth base. The mayonnaise, despite its unconventional role, lends the cake a moist, velvety texture that makes it stand out from other chocolate cakes. Once these ingredients are combined, add water or milk to bring the batter to the desired consistency, and mix until everything is well incorporated. The cake batter is poured into prepared cake pans and baked at a moderate temperature, typically for around 30 minutes, until the cake springs back when touched or a toothpick comes out clean. The result is a dense, moist cake that is rich in flavor and perfectly textured. One of the best things about this cake is that it's incredibly forgiving. It doesn't dry out quickly, and it can easily be stored for several days, becoming even more delicious as it sits. To finish off this vintage cake, it's often topped with a simple frosting, either a classic chocolate buttercream or, for something a bit lighter, whipped cream. The frosting is spread generously over the top, and sometimes a few chocolate shavings or sprinkles are added for decoration. But the true beauty of the chocolate mayonnaise cake lies in its simplicity. It's not a cake that demands elaborate decoration or intricate flavors. Instead, it lets the ingredients speak for themselves. The richness of the cocoa, the moistness from the mayonnaise, and the smoothness of the frosting all come together to create a cake that's both comforting and indulgent. Chocolate mayonnaise cake is a reminder of the 1950s resourcefulness in the kitchen. It may have started as a practical solution for scarce ingredients, but over time, it became a beloved dessert that stood the test of time. The cake's surprising moisture and rich flavor are a testament to the creativity of mid-century bakers. And even today, it's a recipe that's cherished for both its nostalgic appeal and its deliciously unexpected twist. This cake proves that sometimes the most unexpected ingredients can lead to the most memorable desserts. Hot milk cake. Hot milk cake is one of those timeless, humble cakes that has a special place in the hearts of many, especially in the 1950s when it was a go-to dessert for all kinds of occasions. With its tender crumb, light texture, and subtle sweetness, hot milk cake is the kind of cake that doesn't try to be flashy, but instead wins you over with its comforting simplicity. It became popular in the post-war era when home bakers were looking for quick, easy cakes that could be made with pantry staples but still tasted like they came from a bakery. The secret to hot milk cake's extraordinary texture lies in the technique of heating the milk, which helps create a moist, airy crumb that makes each bite melt in your mouth. The origins of hot milk cake are often traced back to traditional American baking, where the concept of using hot milk in cakes wasn't entirely new, but it was the 1950s when this cake began to shine. The technique of incorporating hot milk into the batter was thought to help the cake rise more evenly and add moisture, giving the finished product a lightness that was quite different from other cakes of the time. Its simplicity made it ideal for busy homemakers who didn't want to spend hours in the kitchen, but still desired something sweet and comforting to serve their families. To make hot milk cake, you begin by heating milk and butter together until the butter melts and the milk is just about to boil. This is a crucial step. Heating the milk not only helps dissolve the sugar and incorporates the butter more smoothly into the batter, but it also contributes to the cake's softness and moisture. While the milk is heating, you'll beat eggs and sugar together until light and fluffy, creating the foundation for a soft cake. Then, flour, baking powder, and a pinch of salt are sifted together and gradually added to the egg mixture. The hot milk mixture is then poured in slowly, allowing it to combine seamlessly into the batter. Once everything is mixed, the batter is poured into a greased cake pan and baked at a moderate temperature until golden and firm to the touch. The cake doesn't rise as dramatically as some other cakes, but it does create a beautifully moist and delicate texture that's perfect for those who appreciate the subtle, understated pleasures of baking. It's a cake that feels both familiar and fresh, with a flavor that's not too rich, but just sweet enough to satisfy a craving for something sweet without being overwhelming. Once the cake has cooled, it's often served as is, dusted lightly with powdered sugar, or with a simple glaze made from milk, sugar, and vanilla. Some bakers may even add a dollop of whipped cream or fresh fruit to dress it up. The beauty of hot milk cake is that it's versatile. Whether you're enjoying it as a snack with a cup of coffee or as a light dessert after dinner, it never feels too heavy. It's perfect for a casual afternoon, but it's also elegant enough to serve at a more formal gathering. Hot milk cake is a reflection of the era that birthed it, an age of simplicity, resourcefulness, and charm. In the 1950s, it was often made as a quick dessert for the family, something to whip up on a busy day. But even though it was easy to make, the result was always satisfying, offering a tender, sweet bite that could brighten any moment. Today, it still holds the same comforting appeal, and whether served plain or adorned with a little frosting or fruit, it's a reminder that sometimes the simplest things are the sweetest. Buttermilk Cake. Buttermilk cake is one of those classic desserts that has stood the test of time, especially in the 1950s when it became a go-to cake for its versatility and comforting flavor. The beauty of buttermilk cake lies in its simplicity. Just a handful of basic ingredients like flour, sugar, butter, eggs, and of course, buttermilk. Yet the result is a moist, tender cake with a subtle tang from the buttermilk that makes it irresistibly delicious. It's a cake that doesn't need to be fancy to shine, but it's perfect for any occasion. Whether it's a quiet family dinner or a more festive gathering, the tangy richness of buttermilk, combined with the light, buttery crumb, makes this cake a standout in the world of 1950s home baking. Buttermilk was a common staple in many 1950s kitchens. It wasn't just used for drinking or in savory dishes, it also became a crucial ingredient in cakes, where its slight acidity worked wonders in creating a soft, moist texture. The acid in the buttermilk helps activate the baking soda, which is essential for giving the cake rise in that light, airy crumb. The result is a cake that is both tender and flavorful, with just enough sweetness to be satisfying without feeling heavy. It's a cake that doesn't shout for attention, but its subtle beauty makes it a quiet favorite among many home bakers. To make buttermilk cake, you start by creaming together butter and sugar until light and fluffy. This step is key to getting the right texture, as it helps incorporate air into the batter, making the cake light and tender. Next, eggs are added one at a time, along with a splash of vanilla for flavor. After that, the dry ingredients, flour, baking powder, and a pinch of salt are mixed together and gradually folded into the wet ingredients, alternating with the buttermilk. This ensures that the batter remains smooth and well mixed without overworking the gluten, which could result in a dense cake. Once everything is combined, the batter is poured into a greased cake pan and baked until golden brown and firm to the touch. As it bakes, the cake fills the kitchen with a sweet, buttery scent. And when it's done, you'll find a beautifully moist, golden cake that is perfect all on its own. Buttermilk cake is wonderful, served plain, with a light dusting of powdered sugar, but it also serves as a great base for a variety of frostings or toppings. It pairs beautifully with whipped cream, fresh berries, or a simple glaze made from sugar, milk, and vanilla. Some bakers might add a sprinkle of cinnamon or nutmeg to the batter for a warm, spiced touch, though it's just as lovely when left plain, allowing the buttermilk's natural tang to shine. One of the best things about buttermilk cake is its versatility. While it's an excellent standalone dessert, it can easily be dressed up for special occasions. It can be layered with fruit preserves or jam, frosted with chocolate or cream cheese frosting, or even served with a scoop of vanilla ice cream for an extra indulgent treat. Buttermilk cake is also a great option for breakfast or brunch, served alongside a cup of coffee or tea. The cake stays moist for several days, making it a great make-ahead option for gatherings or for a treat to enjoy throughout the week. In the 1950s, buttermilk cake was often seen as a homey dessert, perfect for family gatherings, church picnics, and casual celebrations. It was a cake that could be whipped up with ease without much fuss, but still felt like a treat. Today, it continues to be a beloved classic, with its simplicity and comforting flavor making it a favorite for modern bakers who appreciate its straightforward appeal. Whether it's enjoyed on a lazy afternoon or served at a festive event, buttermilk cake remains a delicious reminder of a simpler time when cakes were made with love and a few good ingredients. Maple Walnut Cake. Maple walnut cake is a delightful dessert that perfectly captures the essence of 1950s home baking, simple yet elegant. This cake was a nod to the growing popularity of maple syrup in American kitchens during the mid-20th century, when it became more widely available and beloved for its rich, comforting sweetness. The pairing of maple syrup with crunchy walnuts in this cake creates a beautiful balance of flavors and textures. The earthy, slightly bitter crunch of the walnuts complements the warm, caramel-like sweetness of the maple syrup, making it a treat that feels both sophisticated and cozy at the same time. The cake itself is made from a basic batter, but the addition of maple syrup gives it a unique depth of flavor. It's mixed with butter, sugar, eggs, and flour to create a moist, flavorful cake base. The walnuts are typically folded into the batter, adding little bursts of crunch throughout the cake. While baking, the maple syrup gives the cake a lovely golden brown hue and infuses the crumb with a slight sweetness. Once the cake is cooled, it's often topped with a simple maple glaze or frosting, which adds a glossy, sugary finish that enhances the maple flavor without overwhelming it. Maple walnut cake is a perfect choice for an afternoon tea, holiday dessert table, or family gathering. Its sweetness is just right, not too overpowering, and the walnuts provide a satisfying contrast in texture. This cake might not be as flashy as some other 1950s desserts, but its comforting flavors make it a timeless classic that continues to evoke feelings of warmth and nostalgia. Lady Baltimore Cake. Lady Baltimore Cake is a vintage dessert that epitomizes elegance and sophistication, making it a true gem of 1950s baking. This cake has long been associated with Southern hospitality, and its intricate layers, rich fillings, and decorative finish made it a showstopper at special occasions like weddings and formal gatherings. With its delicate white cake layers filled with a blend of dried fruits, nuts, and a fluffy sweet frosting, the Lady Baltimore Cake was the kind of dessert that both tasted and looked luxurious. Its origins are a bit murky, but it was named after the character of Lady Baltimore from the 1906 novel by Owen Wister, and it quickly became a symbol of refined Southern baking. The cake itself is a light, airy sponge cake that serves as the perfect backdrop for the rich filling. The filling typically includes a mixture of chopped dried fruits like raisins and figs, along with toasted pecans or walnuts, all bound together by a creamy, sugary custard. This combination of textures, from the soft, airy cake to the chewy fruits and crunchy nuts, makes every bite a delightful contrast. The frosting is usually a simple, smooth buttercream, but it's the combination of the cake and filling that really sets this dessert apart. Lady Baltimore Cake's intricate layers and decorative beauty made it a centerpiece at many 1950s gatherings. While it may require a bit of extra time and attention to assemble, the result is a deliciously rich and visually stunning cake that's perfect for making a lasting impression. Prune Cake. Prune cake might sound unusual to modern ears, but in the 1950s, it was a beloved dessert, known for its moist, rich texture and subtly sweet flavor. Prunes, often associated with their digestive benefits, were commonly used in baking during this time for their ability to keep cakes moist while adding a gentle sweetness. The cake itself is dense and flavorful, with the prunes offering a natural depth of sweetness without being overwhelming. The prunes are typically chopped and mixed into the batter, infusing the cake with their soft texture and slight tang. The cake is often spiced with cinnamon, nutmeg, or cloves, enhancing its warmth and making it a perfect treat for fall or holiday gatherings. A simple glaze or frosting, often made from powdered sugar and a bit of milk or cream, is added on top to give it a sweet finishing touch. The result is a cake that's rich, flavorful, and comforting, a perfect example of how the 1950s embraced resourceful baking, turning an unlikely ingredient like prunes into a delicious, nostalgic dessert. Prune cake may not be the first thing that comes to mind when you think of vintage cakes, but its unique flavor and moist crumb make it a delightful piece of 1950s baking history. Applesauce Cake. Applesauce cake is a true 1950s classic, offering a perfect balance of spiced warmth and moist texture. This cake, made with the simple, comforting ingredients of and brown sugar, quickly became a household favorite. It was often seen as a humble yet delicious dessert, perfect for everyday gatherings or even a cozy afternoon tea. Applesauce not only contributed moisture to the cake, but also added a slight tanginess that balanced out the sweetness, making each bite flavorful yet light. The method for making applesauce cake is straightforward. Combine the wet ingredients, like applesauce and eggs, with the dry ingredients, including flour, baking soda, and spices. Once mixed, the batter is poured into a greased pan and baked until golden brown. While it bakes, the kitchen fills with the delightful aroma of cinnamon and apples. Often, the cake is topped with a simple glaze or dusted with powdered sugar to add a touch of sweetness. Applesauce cake was a great way to use pantry staples, and its ability to stay moist for days made it a practical choice for busy bakers. Perfect for fall or any season, applesauce cake is a wonderful reminder of the 1950s approach to making delicious desserts with accessible, everyday ingredients. Its comforting flavors have kept it a beloved classic through the years. Orange Creamsicle Cake. Orange Creamsicle Cake is a vibrant and refreshing dessert that became a 1950s favorite, blending the nostalgic flavors of orange and cream into a cake that tasted just like the beloved frozen treat. With its zesty, citrusy flavor and creamy frosting, this cake captured the essence of sunny days and summer picnics, making it a perfect addition to the dessert table at family gatherings and parties. The cake's bright orange color and sweet, tangy flavor made it an eye-catching and mouth-watering treat. To make orange creamsicle cake, the batter typically includes orange juice, zest, and a bit of vanilla to mimic the flavors of the frozen treat. The cake is light, fluffy, and moist, with a perfect balance of citrusy freshness. The real star, however, is the frosting, usually a creamy, sweet buttercream or whipped topping that adds a rich, smooth contrast to the citrusy cake. Some recipes even call for a bit of orange extract to amplify the flavor, making each bite a perfect combination of sweet and tangy. Whether served at a summer gathering or as a cheerful birthday cake, orange creamsicle cake was a symbol of the 1950s love for light, fun desserts that brought a taste of summer to any occasion. Its simple, refreshing flavor still makes it a beloved choice today. Banana cake. Banana cake became a staple in many 1950s kitchens, taking advantage of the growing popularity of bananas as a sweet and versatile ingredient in desserts. This cake was soft, moist, and full of flavor, with ripe bananas giving it a natural sweetness and a tender texture that was hard to resist. The banana craze was in full swing during the mid-20th century, and using bananas in cakes was both a creative way to use up overripe fruit and a delicious twist on traditional cake recipes. To make banana cake, ripe bananas are mashed and incorporated into the batter, along with butter, sugar, eggs, and flour. The mashed bananas not only add moisture, but also infuse the cake with a natural, comforting sweetness. A bit of baking soda helps the cake rise, ensuring a light, fluffy crumb. The batter is simple to mix and bakes up to a beautiful golden brown. Often, the cake is finished with a rich cream cheese frosting, which provides a tangy contrast to the sweetness of the banana, making each bite a perfect balance of flavors. Banana cake quickly became a favorite for everything from casual family dinners to festive gatherings, thanks to its ability to be made with pantry staples and its satisfying, flavorful result. Even decades later, it remains a beloved classic that showcases the 1950s knack for turning simple ingredients into unforgettable desserts. Raisin Cake. Raisin cake, with its dense texture and rich spiced flavor, was a beloved dessert in the 1950s, often made to highlight the natural sweetness of dried fruit. This cake was a perfect example of resourceful baking, making use of pantry staples like raisins, cinnamon, and nutmeg to create something comforting and satisfying. The raisins, soaked in a bit of warm water or even a splash of rum, add moisture and sweetness, while the spices give the cake a warm, home-style flavor that was especially popular during cooler months. To make raisin cake, you start by simmering the raisins in water or juice to soften them. The dry ingredients, flour, baking soda, and spices, are combined and mixed into a batter that includes butter, sugar, and eggs. The soaked raisins are folded into the batter, along with any extra liquid from the raisin soak, ensuring the cake stays moist and flavorful. Once baked, the cake is often finished with a simple glaze or dusting of powdered sugar, allowing the fruit to shine. Raisin cake was a practical yet delicious dessert that fit perfectly into the 1950s ethos of using simple, accessible ingredients to create hearty, flavorful treats. Its rich, moist texture and warm, spiced flavor make it a comforting classic even today. Sour cream coffee cake. Sour cream coffee cake was a favorite in 1950s kitchens, perfect for breakfast, brunch, or an afternoon treat with coffee. Its rich, tender crumb, combined with the subtle tanginess of sour cream, made it an irresistible choice for gatherings and family events. This cake was both comforting and elegant, with a simple yet delightful flavor profile that worked perfectly with a warm beverage. It's not overly sweet, which made it a great balance to the richer desserts of the time. The batter is easy to prepare, made with sour cream, butter, sugar, eggs, and a touch of vanilla. The sour cream helps keep the cake moist while adding just the right amount of tang. Often, the cake is swirled with a cinnamon sugar mixture, creating a sweet, spiced ribbon through the middle, and sometimes topped with a crunchy streusel topping made from butter, brown sugar, and cinnamon. Once baked, the result is a beautifully textured, slightly crumbly cake that's perfect for any occasion. Sour cream coffee cake is a timeless dessert that embodies the 1950s love for simple yet satisfying treats. Its subtle flavor and soft texture make it a beloved classic, ideal for sharing with friends or family. German chocolate cake. German chocolate cake is a rich, decadent dessert that became a 1950s favorite, beloved for its combination of moist chocolate cake and a sweet, nutty coconut pecan frosting. Despite its name, the cake isn't actually German. It's named after an American brand of chocolate, Baker's German's sweet chocolate, which was used in the original recipe. This cake made a splash in the 1950s after an entry in a Texas newspaper gained national attention, and it quickly became a household name. The cake itself is a classic chocolate sponge made with cocoa powder, sugar, eggs, and butter. What sets it apart is the frosting, a gooey blend of evaporated milk, sugar, egg yolks, butter, and vanilla, mixed with shredded coconut and toasted pecans. The frosting is thick, rich, and sweet, creating a contrast to the moist, slightly bitter chocolate cake. This cake was often the centerpiece at birthdays and special occasions, its indulgent flavors making it feel like a celebration in every bite. German chocolate cake remains a nostalgic favorite for its unique flavor combination and rich, satisfying texture, embodying the bold and inventive spirit of 1950s baking. Coffee Walnut Cake. Coffee walnut cake is a delightful dessert that perfectly captured the 1950s love for bold flavors and simple ingredients. It combines the richness of coffee with the earthiness of walnuts, creating a perfect balance of flavors in every bite. This cake was a favorite for afternoon teas and casual gatherings, offering a slightly sophisticated touch without being too heavy. The coffee flavor adds depth, while the walnuts contribute a satisfying crunch and a nutty, toasty flavor that pairs wonderfully with the soft, moist cake. To make coffee walnut cake, you start by brewing strong coffee and mixing it with butter, sugar, eggs, and flour. The addition of ground walnuts into the batter gives the cake a rich, nutty flavor. Once baked, the cake is often frosted with a smooth, coffee-flavored buttercream, with more walnuts sprinkled on top to finish. This simple yet flavorful combination made it a go-to cake for 1950s bakers looking to impress with minimal fuss. Coffee walnut cake remains a beloved treat, its bittersweet coffee flavor and nutty crunch making it a timeless classic. It's the perfect dessert for those who enjoy a little caffeine kick alongside their cake. Pumpkin Cake. Pumpkin cake became a cherished fall favorite in the 1950s, embracing the season's flavors and showcasing the versatility of pumpkin in desserts. With its moist, spiced crumb and rich flavor, this cake quickly became a staple for holiday gatherings and family dinners. The natural sweetness of pumpkin paired with warm spices like cinnamon, nutmeg, and cloves created a comforting treat perfect for autumn. To make pumpkin cake, the batter combines canned pumpkin with sugar, eggs, flour, and a mix of spices. The pumpkin keeps the cake moist and tender, while the spices give it a homey, comforting flavor. Often topped with cream cheese frosting, the tangy richness balances the cake's sweetness. Simple to make and incredibly flavorful, pumpkin cake became a go-to dessert that still evokes memories of cozy fall afternoons and festive family occasions. Tangerine Cake. Tangerine Cake was a delightful and slightly exotic treat that captured the 1950s fascination with citrus flavors. With its bright, tangy tangerine notes, this cake offered a refreshing twist on the more traditional citrus desserts. The sweetness of tangerine juice and zest infused the cake, giving it a light, fruity flavor that made it perfect for spring or summer occasions. To make tangerine cake, you mix tangerine juice and zest with sugar, eggs, and flour to create a tender, flavorful batter. The cake itself is moist and lightly sweet, with the tangerine flavor providing a burst of citrusy freshness. Often topped with a simple glaze made from tangerine juice and powdered sugar, this cake became a favorite for family gatherings and tea parties, offering a sunny, bright flavor that was as charming as it was delicious. Carrot Cake. Carrot cake became a beloved classic in the 1950s, offering a moist, spiced treat that combined the sweetness of carrots with the warmth of cinnamon and nutmeg. This cake was a delightful twist on traditional desserts, with the carrots adding natural sweetness and moisture, making the cake rich without being overly heavy. To make carrot cake, grated carrots are mixed into a batter made from flour, sugar, eggs, and oil. The warm spices like cinnamon and nutmeg enhance the flavor, while walnuts or pecans often add a satisfying crunch. The cake is typically topped with a tangy cream cheese frosting, which complements the sweetness of the cake perfectly. Carrot cake quickly became a family favorite and continues to be a nostalgic treat, cherished for its comforting texture and rich, spiced flavor. Chocolate Sheet Cake. Chocolate sheet cake was a crowd-pleasing dessert that epitomized 1950s home baking. Simple, indulgent, and perfect for feeding a large group. This cake's moist, tender crumb and rich chocolate flavor made it a staple at family gatherings, potlucks, and church socials. The beauty of a sheet cake lies in its ease of preparation and the ability to serve many people with minimal effort. To make chocolate sheet cake, a rich batter made with cocoa powder, butter, sugar, and eggs is spread into a large baking sheet. Once baked, the cake is topped with a warm, fudgy chocolate frosting that soaks into the cake, adding even more flavor and moisture. The result is a decadent, melt-in-your-mouth treat that's perfect for any occasion. Chocolate sheet cake is a nostalgic reminder of the 1950s love for satisfying, no-fuss desserts that bring people together. Cinnamon Roll Cake. Cinnamon roll cake brings all the comforting flavors of a cinnamon roll in a simple, easy-to-make cake form. This 1950s favorite was perfect for mornings or gatherings when you craved the warm, sweet, and spicy goodness of cinnamon rolls but didn't want to spend hours rolling dough. The cake has a tender, buttery crumb with swirls of cinnamon sugar baked right in, creating pockets of flavor throughout. To make cinnamon roll cake, a buttery cake batter is layered with a cinnamon sugar mixture, then swirled together before baking. Once out of the oven, it's topped with a sweet glaze, just like the icing on a traditional cinnamon roll. The result is a cake that's rich, comforting, and satisfying, offering all the flavors of a cinnamon roll without the fuss. Simple yet indulgent, it became a go-to treat for cozy breakfast or as a special dessert. Coconut pineapple cake. Coconut pineapple cake was a tropical-inspired treat that became a favorite in the 1950s, bringing together two beloved ingredients, coconut and pineapple. With its moist, fruity layers and light coconut frosting, it was a dessert that transported you to a sun-soaked paradise, even if you were just sitting in your kitchen. To make coconut pineapple cake, a simple cake batter is mixed with crushed pineapple, which adds moisture and sweetness. The cake is then topped with a creamy frosting made from whipped cream or buttercream and generously coated with shredded coconut. The combination of the pineapple's tangy sweetness and the coconut's richness made for a deliciously balanced cake. This dessert was a perfect choice for family gatherings, potlucks, or any celebration, offering a delightful escape with each bite. Peach upside-down cake. Peach upside-down cake is a refreshing twist on the classic pineapple version that became popular in the 1950s. This cake celebrates the bright, juicy sweetness of peaches, perfectly paired with a caramelized, buttery topping. The contrast between the soft, golden brown fruit and the moist, tender cake creates a dessert that is both simple and indulgent. It's a nostalgic favorite, often made with fresh or canned peaches, making it accessible year-round. To make peach upside-down cake, you begin by preparing the fruit layer. Sliced peaches are arranged in a greased cake pan, often with a little butter and brown sugar to create a caramelized base. As the cake bakes, the sugar melts and caramelizes around the fruit, forming a luscious golden syrup that coats the peaches. The cake batter is then made with basic ingredients like butter, sugar, eggs, flour, and baking powder, creating a light, airy batter that complements the sweetness of the peaches. Once the cake is baked, it's flipped over, revealing the beautifully caramelized peach topping. The result is a cake that's not only visually stunning, but also full of flavor. The peach topping is sweet and slightly tangy, while the cake itself is moist and buttery, making each bite a harmonious balance of textures. Peach upside-down cake was often served at family gatherings or church socials, bringing the warmth and comfort of homemade baking to every table. Whether made with fresh summer peaches or canned fruit, this cake captures the essence of 1950s baking: resourceful, comforting, and delicious. Lemon Buttermilk Cake. Lemon buttermilk cake was a bright and refreshing dessert that captured the 1950s love for citrusy, flavorful cakes. With its delicate, tangy flavor from the lemon zest and juice and the moisture provided by buttermilk, this cake was both simple and sophisticated. It became a popular choice for spring and summer gatherings, offering a light, fresh alternative to heavier desserts, while still being indulgent enough to feel like a special treat. To make lemon buttermilk cake, the batter starts with a combination of butter, sugar, eggs, and lemon zest. The buttermilk, with its slight acidity, helps tenderize the cake, making it soft and moist, while also adding a subtle tang that perfectly complements the lemon. The addition of fresh lemon juice boosts the citrusy flavor, giving the cake a bright, zesty kick. Baking powder ensures that the cake rises beautifully, resulting in a light, airy crumb. Once baked, the cake is often topped with a simple glaze made from powdered sugar and lemon juice, adding a sweet yet tart finish. Some recipes may call for a dusting of powdered sugar or a dollop of whipped cream. The cake's light texture, paired with the tangy lemon flavor and the richness from the buttermilk, makes it an irresistible dessert. Lemon buttermilk cake was a favorite in the 1950s for its ability to balance sweetness with tartness, making it a timeless treat that still feels as fresh and vibrant today as it did back then. Strawberry shortcake. Strawberry shortcake is a quintessential dessert that captured the spirit of the 1950s, a time when home bakers embraced fresh, seasonal fruits and light, airy cakes. This classic dessert, with its layers of fluffy biscuits, sweetened strawberries, and whipped cream, became a symbol of summer and a favorite for family gatherings, picnics, and potlucks. The beauty of strawberry shortcake lies in its simplicity, a perfect balance of fresh fruit, tender cake, and creamy richness that made it both elegant and comforting. The origins of strawberry shortcake go way back, but by the 1950s, it had evolved into the dessert we know and love today. Strawberries, in particular, were a highlight of the season, and their vibrant red color and juicy sweetness made them the star of the show. During the 1950s, strawberries were widely available, and fresh strawberries, often picked straight from the garden, were used in abundance, creating a perfect pairing with the soft, slightly sweet biscuits that formed the base of the cake. To make strawberry shortcake, you start by preparing the strawberries. They are sliced and tossed with sugar to draw out their juices, creating a sweet syrup that helps flavor the fruit and adds moisture to the cake. The strawberries are then set aside to allow their natural sweetness to develop, giving you the most flavorful topping for the shortcake. The next step is to make the biscuits, which are the backbone of this dessert. Unlike sponge cakes or angel food cakes, which are light and airy, the biscuits used in strawberry shortcake are slightly denser, yet still tender and flaky. The biscuit dough is made with simple ingredients: flour, baking powder, sugar, butter, and a bit of milk or cream to bind it all together. The key is not to overwork the dough, as that could make the biscuits tough. Instead, the dough is mixed just enough to combine, then gently shaped into rounds and baked until golden brown. The biscuits should rise slightly, becoming crisp on the outside while staying soft and crumbly on the inside. Once the biscuits are baked and cooled slightly, it's time to assemble the shortcake. The biscuit is sliced in half, and the bottom layer is spooned generously with the sweetened strawberries and their juices. A generous dollop of freshly whipped cream, light, fluffy, and just lightly sweetened, crowns the fruit, adding a rich, creamy contrast to the bright and tangy strawberries. The top layer of the biscuit is placed on top, and the final touch is a sprinkle of additional strawberries or cream for garnish. The result is a dessert that is both light and satisfying, with every bite offering a perfect mix of textures and flavors. The rich, buttery biscuit soaks up the strawberry syrup, while the fresh fruit provides a tart contrast to the sweetness of the cream. Strawberry shortcake embodies the spirit of the 1950s, simple yet elegant, with a focus on fresh ingredients and a little bit of homemade love. It was a cake that didn't need to be overly complex to be delicious, and that's exactly what made it so popular during the era. While strawberry shortcake was often served as the star of summer barbecues, picnics, and family gatherings, it also became a favorite for holidays like the 4th of July or Memorial Day, when fresh strawberries were in abundance. Its bright colors and fresh flavor made it a perfect dessert for festive occasions. And although the 1950s may be long behind us, strawberry shortcake continues to be a beloved classic that remains as refreshing and timeless as ever. Chocolate chip cake. Chocolate chip cake is a delightful dessert that emerged as a classic in the 1950s, combining the best of both worlds: the rich, comforting flavor of cake with the irresistible, gooey goodness of chocolate chips. This cake embodies the era's love for easy-to-make treats that could be shared at any occasion, from casual family dinners to more festive gatherings. While chocolate chip cookies had already made their mark as an American favorite by the 1950s, the concept of incorporating chocolate chips into a cake was a game changer, combining the nostalgic flavors of chocolate chip cookies with the moist, tender texture of a cake. The 1950s saw an explosion of new, quick-to-make desserts, and chocolate chip cake was born out of the growing popularity of boxed cake mixes and accessible pantry staples. It's a perfect example of how home bakers embraced convenience without sacrificing taste. The recipe typically calls for ingredients you already have on hand: flour, sugar, butter, eggs, and, of course, chocolate chips. The beauty of this cake lies in its simplicity and versatility, making it a go-to choice for both busy bakers and dessert lovers alike. To make chocolate chip cake, you start by creaming together butter and sugar, creating a smooth, fluffy base for the cake. Eggs are then added to the mix, along with a touch of vanilla extract to enhance the flavor. The dry ingredients, flour, baking soda, and a pinch of salt, are sifted together and added to the wet ingredients, resulting in a thick, rich batter. The magic happens when you fold in the chocolate chips, ensuring that each bite of the cake has gooey pockets of melty chocolate. Once the batter is prepared, it's poured into a greased baking pan and baked in a moderate oven until golden brown. The cake's outer edges become slightly crisp, while the center stays moist and tender, creating the perfect contrast of textures. What makes this cake stand out from other chocolate cakes is the way the chocolate chips melt slightly into the batter during baking, giving the cake an almost cookie-like consistency in some places, while other bites offer bursts of pure chocolate. As the cake cools, its warm, sweet aroma fills the kitchen, enticing everyone around. The finished cake is usually served simply, sometimes dusted with powdered sugar or drizzled with a light glaze. Some variations call for a richer frosting or whipped cream on top, but the real star is the combination of the soft, moist cake and the melty chocolate chips scattered throughout. The cake is delicious on its own, but it's also perfect when paired with a scoop of vanilla ice cream or a dollop of whipped cream, elevating it to an extra indulgent treat. Chocolate chip cake became a family favorite in the 1950s because it was easy to make, shared the beloved flavors of chocolate chip cookies, and could be enjoyed by people of all ages. It was a dessert that brought joy with minimal effort, and it quickly became synonymous with home baking during that time. It was also a dessert that could be easily adapted for different occasions, whether served as a casual after-school snack, a birthday treat, or as part of a larger holiday spread. What made chocolate chip cake particularly special in the 1950s was its connection to the growing convenience food movement. During this time, home bakers were discovering ways to make baking easier and faster without sacrificing the homemade touch. With the rise of cake mixes and pre-packaged ingredients, this cake fit perfectly into that trend, offering an indulgent, comforting dessert that didn't require hours in the kitchen. The chocolate chip cake became a symbol of resourcefulness, creativity, and the joy of simple baking. Today, this cake remains a nostalgic treat, just as popular as it was in the 1950s. It's a reminder of an era when home bakers were embracing convenience without sacrificing flavor, and it continues to be a favorite for modern bakers looking to create something both timeless and indulgent. Whether enjoyed as a weeknight dessert or shared at a family gathering, chocolate chip cake continues to bring people together with its irresistible combination of chocolatey goodness and soft, moist cake. It's a perfect example of how the simplest ingredients can come together to create something truly memorable. And there you have it, 30 classic cakes from the 1950s that still bring a touch of nostalgia to our kitchens today. These desserts were born out of resourcefulness, creativity, and a love for simple, comforting flavors. Whether you're reliving a favorite childhood memory or discovering these treats for the first time, each cake tells a story of an era when home baking was an art. So grab your apron, preheat the oven, and let these vintage cakes fill your home with sweetness, warmth, and a little bit of history.